You think you are a monument, a solid and unchanging pillar of identity, but you are actually a whirlwind, a chaotic and temporary stabilization of energy in a universe that prefers entropy. You cling to your name, your skin, and your ego as if they were permanent fixtures of the cosmos, but the universe doesn't recognize those labels. It doesn't speak your language or care about your social security number. Right now, you are a temporary collection of borrowed parts held together by a fragile biological contract that is rapidly approaching its expiration date. This internal cohesion you call me is a high-maintenance illusion, a localized defiance of the second law of thermodynamics that requires constant input just to keep from dissolving back into the void. Death isn't a vanishing act or a mystical journey to a faraway land. It is a cold, mechanical redistribution of assets. We have spent centuries wrapping this reality in the soft gauze of mythology because we are too terrified to face the sheer mathematical indifference of our existence. You aren't going anywhere because you aren't an object that can be moved. You are a performance that eventually concludes. The curtain falls, the lights go out, and the theater remains. But the actors are stripped of their costumes and return to the streets. You have mistaken the costume for the person and the stage for the world. To understand what happens after the fire, you must first accept that the you are trying to protect is a ghost generated by a meat computer, a flicker of electricity in a dark room. You are so preoccupied with the preservation of this ghost that you fail to see the magnificent architecture of the machine itself. The universe doesn't see a human being, it sees a complex knot of gravity and electromagnetism that has briefly forgotten it belongs to the whole. You are a localized ripple in a vast, infinite pond, and when the ripple flattens, the water remains exactly as it was. Your fear of erasure is a byproduct of your limited perspective, a failure to realize that you cannot lose what you never truly owned. The ego demands a permanent seat at the table, but the universe operates on a rotating guest list. This is the first realization you must swallow. The end is not a subtraction, but a return to the baseline. You are not being deleted. You are being integrated back into the source code from which you were never truly separate to begin with. Stop calling it your body as if you were the architect or the landlord of this biological vessel. You are a biological squatter living in a house built entirely from the scorched wreckage of dead stars, and your rent is long overdue. Every carbon atom in your DNA, every iron atom in your blood, and every calcium atom in your teeth was forged in the crushing, hellish heart of a supernova billions of years ago. You are the byproduct of celestial violence on a scale so massive it defies human comprehension. You didn't come into this world like a stranger entering a room. You came asterisk out asterisk of it, like a wave rising from the ocean or a fruit growing from a tree. You are an extension of the Earth's crust and the sun's radiation, a temporary arrangement of the periodic table that has gained the peculiar ability to feel anxiety. You are currently indebted to the fundamental laws of physics, and the universe is a relentless, cold-blooded debt collector that never forgets a balance. Every breath you take is a temporary loan of oxygen. Every meal you eat is a desperate attempt to delay the inevitable reclamation of your mass. We walk around with this arrogant sense of ownership, forgetting that we are composed of recycled waste from the Big Bang. The very molecules you use to think these thoughts have been through the digestive tracts of dinosaurs and the roots of ancient ferns. You are wearing a suit made of history, yet you treat it like a fresh garment. This debt is the foundation of your existence, not a burden to be feared. The fact that the universe took the time to assemble you out of chaotic dust is the only miracle you will ever receive, and yet you treat it with the casual disregard of a spoiled heir. You aren't a separate entity fighting against nature. You are nature's way of looking at itself. When you realize that your body is just a borrowed collection of cosmic shrapnel, the terror of losing it begins to look like a misunderstanding of the contract. You are a temporary configuration of the eternal, a flash of lightning in a long dark night. To fear the end of the loan is to miss the beauty of the transaction. You are made of the stuff of eternity, but you are obsessed with the expiration date of the packaging. When the fire of the retort hits, the you that you spent decades grooming, feeding, and dressing in expensive fabrics is liquidated in a matter of minutes. This is not a tragedy, and it is not a loss. It is a violent and necessary application of physics. In the intense heat of cremation, the chemical bonds that hold your identity together are shattered with clinical precision. The 150 pounds of solid matter you perceive as your physical self is reduced to roughly 5 pounds of bone fragments and ash. The remaining 145 pounds do not simply vanish into a vacuum. They are converted into gases, primarily carbon dioxide and water vapor, and released back into the atmosphere to be recycled into the great cosmic cycle of life. This is the ultimate liberation. Your oxygen and hydrogen depart as vapor, rising to join the clouds. Your carbon exits as gas, entering the lungs of the surrounding flora. You become the breath of a forest 3 miles away. You become the microscopic moisture in a passing storm cloud. You don't go to the grave to rot in a mahogany box. You go back to work in the global ecosystem. The atoms that once made up your heart may find themselves in the petal of a wildflower or the wing of a bird within weeks. This is the mechanical reality of the afterlife, a literal transformation where your physical essence is distributed back into the planetary machine. You are not being destroyed. You are being diffused. The fire doesn't erase you. It breaks the seal on your container and allows the contents to flow back into the reservoir. If you could see yourself from the perspective of an atom, cremation would look like a homecoming, a frantic and joyful escape from the prison of a single organism. We grieve because we see the empty vessel, but the universe celebrates because the resources have been returned to the pool. The carbon that was locked in your muscles is now free to build something new. You are a biological battery that has finally been plugged back into the grid. The heat is merely the catalyst for your transition from a static object to a dynamic influence. You are no longer confined to a single point in space-time. You are now part of the wind, the rain, and the soil. You are not the water in the fountain. You are the specific shimmering shape the water takes as it passes through the air at a high velocity. This is the fountain paradox, a concept that Richard Feynman understood at a fundamental level. If you look at a fountain from a distance, it appears to be a solid, persistent object, a column of water standing defiantly against gravity. But as you move closer, you realize that not a single drop of water stays in that column for more than a fraction of a second. The water is constantly being replaced, yet the asterisk shape asterisk remains. You are that shape. The atoms in your brain today are not the same atoms that were there last year. They have been swapped out through metabolic processes, replaced by the atoms from the apples you ate and the air you breathed. Your memories, your soul, and yourself are not made of matter. They are patterns carved into a flowing stream of particles. If you swap every brick in a building one by one, is it still the same building? You are a walking ship of Theseus, a biological enigma that maintains an identity despite being completely replaced every few years. Yet you have the audacity to be paralyzed by the fear of change, as if change weren't the very mechanism that keeps you alive. Your insistence on a static self is a denial of the very physics that allow you to exist. You are a process, a verb, an ongoing event, not a noun. When the flow stops, the shape disappears, but the water continues its journey. We spend our lives trying to freeze the fountain, trying to turn the water into ice so we can hold on to it. But ice is dead. The beauty of the fountain is in its movement, in the fact that it is never the same from one moment to the next. You are a symphony being played on borrowed instruments. When the song ends, the instruments aren't broken. They are simply handed to the next musician. Your obsession with permanence is a rejection of your nature. You must learn to love the pattern, not the particles, because the particles are just passing through. Your ego is a narrow, survival-driven filter that convinces you that you are separate from the dirt beneath your feet and the stars above your head. It is a biological lie, a necessary hallucination evolved to keep you fed, breeding, and wary of predators. This self you guard so jealously is a firewall that prevents you from feeling the overwhelming truth of your interconnectedness. The harsh reality is that the universe doesn't see you at all. It sees a localized density of energy, a complex knot in the fabric of space-time. When that density shifts or the knot unravels, the universe doesn't lose a single thing. It simply rearranges the furniture of existence. Your ego interprets this rearrangement as death and reacts with primal terror. But that terror is based on a false premise of isolation. You are not a passenger on the ship of the universe. You are the ship, the sea, and the wind. The ego creates a me and a them, a here and a there. But physics knows no such boundaries. Gravity doesn't stop at your skin. Light doesn't wait for your permission to pass through you. You are a porous entity, constantly bleeding into your environment and absorbing it in return. This filter of the ego is what makes life manageable, but it is also what makes death seem like an ending. If you could strip away the ego, you would see that there is no gap between your nervous system and the rest of the cosmos. You are a sensory organ for the universe, a way for the totality of existence to taste, touch, and hear itself. When the organ fails, the experience doesn't die, it just changes focus. The fear of death is the ego's fear of losing its job. But the work of the universe continues without interruption. You are a temporary aperture through which the light of consciousness is shining. When the aperture closes, the light isn't extinguished, it just stops being focused into that specific point. You are mourning the loss of the lens while ignoring the existence of the light. Stop waiting for the end or searching for a mythical afterlife, as if the present moment were merely a lobby for something more significant. You are happening right now. You are a 14-billion-year-old event, a direct consequence of the Big Bang that has briefly gained the improbable ability to wonder why it exists. You are a cosmic anomaly, a moment of self-reflection in a universe that is mostly cold and silent. To obsess over your own demise is like a flame worrying about where the light goes when the candle is blown out. The light doesn't go anywhere, the process of combustion simply ceases. You are a process of biological combustion, a slow-burning fire fueled by oxygen and organic matter. When the fuel runs out or the oxygen is cut off, the flame goes out, but the heat you generated has already altered the room. You have influenced the trajectory of every life you've touched and every atom you've displaced. You are not a product that is being manufactured and then discarded. You are a performance in real time. The obsession with what happens after the performance is a waste of the ticket. You are currently a localized instance of the universe's own awareness. That is the only immortality that matters. The molecules currently vibrating in your vocal cords will eventually vibrate in something else, carrying the energy of your life forward into new forms. We are so focused on the destination that we ignore the fact that we are currently traveling at 67,000 miles per hour through space on a giant rock. You are a miracle of motion, a sequence of chemical reactions so complex they have developed a personality. Don't insult that complexity by living as though you are already a corpse. You are the universe's way of experiencing its own laws. You are the physics of the stars made flesh and bone. Here is the slap in the face that you've been avoiding. You have been granted the rarest privilege in the known cosmos, the gift of conscious matter, and you are spending it scrolling through digital garbage, nursing petty grudges, and drowning in self-inflicted boredom. You are the universe looking at itself in the mirror, and you're choosing to complain about the lighting or the wrinkles around your eyes. Your atoms fought through the birth of galaxies, survived the collisions of planets, and navigated the brutal filters of evolution for 4 billion years just to be here, and you're wasting that hard-won complexity on mediocrity and excuses. It is an insult to the sheer mathematical impossibility of your existence to live a life of quiet desperation. You are made of stardust that learned to think, yet you act like a victim of your circumstances. You complain about your job, your hair, and your social status as if those things were relevant to a being made of ancient suns. The harsh truth is that most people live like they have an infinite supply of time, forgetting that they are a temporary arrangement. You are a one-time only event. There will never be this specific configuration of atoms ever again. And what are you doing with it? You are hiding. You are playing small because you are afraid of failing, not realizing that the very fact that you can fail is a sign that you are alive. The universe doesn't have time for your some days or your what-ifs. It only has the now. You are a biological masterpiece that is being used to store trivia and resentment. If you were a machine, you would be considered a waste of high-grade components. It's time to stop treating your life like a dress rehearsal for a play that will never open. You are on stage right now, and the audience is the void. The first law of thermodynamics is the only law that truly matters. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. This is not a comforting religious platitude. It is an immutable fact of the physical world. You are immortal by default, but not in the fragile, ego-driven way you want to be. You won't be you forever, but you will be asterisk here, asterisk forever. There is no outside to the universe. There is no trash can where used souls are thrown away. Every joule of energy that powers your heartbeat and every watt that fires your synapses is a permanent addition to the cosmic ledger. You are a permanent resident of existence, a thread in an unbreakable fabric. But this immortality comes with a price, responsibility. If you cannot be destroyed, then your actions have an eternal echo. You are not a victim of time. You are the master of the energy you currently command. We use time as an excuse for our lethargy, pretending that because we will die, nothing matters. The opposite is true. Because the energy is permanent, but the form is temporary, what you do with your now determines the quality of the legacy you leave in the energy field. Thermodynamics doesn't care about your feelings, your fears, or your excuses. It only tracks the transfer. You are a transformer. You take in food and information, and you output action and influence. If your output is nothing but noise and heat, you are an inefficient system. Start living as if your energy mattered, because it does. It is the only thing that does. You are a localized expression of the total energy of the Big Bang. Act with the authority that such a lineage deserves. You must shift your mindset from one of ownership to one of stewardship. You don't own your life, your body, or your mind. You are managing a high-velocity stream of particles on behalf of the universe. You are a temporary custodian of a very specific set of resources. When you view yourself as an owner, you become obsessed with loss, protection, and hoarding. You become afraid of the day the repo man comes for your health or your youth. But when you view yourself as a steward, your goal changes. Your mission is no longer to keep the particles, but to use them as effectively as possible while they are under your control. When you realize that you are an unbreakable part of the cosmic fabric, the paralyzing fear of death evaporates. You cannot be erased because there is nowhere else for your components to go. You are the system itself, acting through a human interface. This shift in perspective is the ultimate empowerment. It removes the me versus the world narrative, that causes so much suffering and replaces it with a me asterisk as asterisk the world reality. You are the universe's way of doing work in this specific corner of the galaxy. If you are a bad steward, you waste the potential of the atoms you've been given. If you are a good steward, you leave the stream better than you found it. You are a gardener of your own existence. The soil isn't yours, the seeds aren't yours, and the sun isn't yours, but the garden is your responsibility. Stop trying to own the wind and start learning how to build a windmill. Stop acting like a fragile, unwanted guest in the universe and start acting like the host of the party. The cosmos will never truly erase you. It is physically incapable of doing so, but it will absolutely reclaim your potential and give it to someone else if you refuse to use it. You are a star that forgot how to shine, a brilliant flash of consciousness that has allowed itself to be dimmed by the trivialities of a mundane life. This is your final slap of truth. The universe is not waiting for you to be ready. It is not waiting for you to feel confident or for the right time to arrive. You are a biological event with a countdown timer, and every second you spend in hesitation is a second of cosmic energy being flushed down the drain. You are the result of a 1,000,000,000 shot, a lucky break in the cold darkness of space. Wake up and acknowledge the magnitude of what you are. Use your borrowed atoms to create something that resonates, something that moves the needle, or something that simply honors the complexity of your own heart. If you choose to remain stagnant, if you choose to let your potential rot in the name of comfort, then you are a traitor to your own chemistry. The universe has no use for a spark that refuses to light a fire. Take action, engage with the machine of existence, and burn as brightly as you can with the fuel you have left. If you don't, the universe will simply wait for your fire to go out so it can use your carbon to build something that actually wants to burn. The choice is yours, but the time is alone. Use it or get out of the way.